Okay, so these are the two front pieces, and we have the wrong sides facing up, and we're going to iron on some interfacing onto the pocket edges. Okay, so now we're going to put right sides together, and we're going to stitch, well, we're going to hold it together like this. And then we're going to stitch from here. We marked it right here. We're going to stitch from here to right here.
So to make sure that we keep a really straight line there, we're going to lay the pattern piece back onto the thing, or to the front. Fold it right at that line. And if you've got chalk, just take chalk and mark a straight line right up along there, and then you'll know where to stitch.
We've done the straight stitch with the sewing machine. You're going to finish up this edge with a serger or a zigzag stitch.
The faux fly over to the left side, and then when you turn it over, we're going to top stitch down and around. If you want help or a little guide, you can go back to the pattern piece, lay it down, and take your chalk and follow that curve down to kind of give you a guide for your top stitching.
So when you're sewing this, make sure that you catch this while you're sewing it.
Set your top stitching like at 3 or 3.5 for a more professional top stitch.
So this piece is the pocket lining, and we're just going to go with a serger or a zigzag stitch across this edge.
So after you've neatened the edges or put a finishing stitch around the edges of the pocket lining, you're just going to place with right sides together the pocket lining up along the top, and you're going to line up these two slanted edges and stitch on each side. Now after you've sewn the slanted edges, we're going to flip the pocket lining to the back so that the wrong sides are touching. Just like that. And we're going to press this edge and then top stitch it if that's desired.
So the next step is to take the pocket pieces and line them up with the pocket lining. And you're going to sew here and all the way up here, and then here and all the way down here, but making sure that you only sew the lining and the pocket pieces together, not this bottom piece. Okay, so now after you've sewn the liner to the pocket, you're going to do a base stitch from here to here to get all those layers, and then from here to here. All right, so I just basted from here, here, there, and there. Now we're gonna set that aside, and we're going to take the side back and the two side backs and the back yoke. So side back and the back yoke, and you're going to pin it together with right sides together, and then you're gonna stitch right there. So now that you've stitched there and there, you're going to press the seam this way, and then you can top stitch if you like. Okay, so for this next step, these are the two back pieces, and I've put them right sides together. and pinned right here. So now we're going to sew this center back seam with right sides together, and then we're going to top stitch. Okay, so I sewed down this way, that seam we were doing, and then now we're gonna press it to the other side and then flip it and top stitch along that seam. So I just sewed along this seam and I finished it with a serger. And now we're going to press the seam up and then we're going to top stitch. Okay, so I just top stitched along this seam. So now we're going to take this piece that we set aside, and with the right sides together, we're going to sew along this side seams right here. Stitch the inner gusset as per the instructions and top stitch it. Install the grommets per manufacturer's instructions.
Take the waistband, fold it in half with right sides together, and stitch down this short edge.
Right, so after you serged or zigzag stitch this seam right here, we're going to flip it and have it facing this right way. And then we're going to fold the wrong sides together all the way around. Okay, so I flipped it and I pinned along this edge, and I just went ahead and put the drawstring in, but according to the directions you would just use, you would sew around here and then put it in with a safety pin. But now we're going to flip it like this and make sure that this in the middle of this right here is lined up with the middle right here on the front of the pants. And then you're gonna pin all the way around.
Now use a safety pin or a bobbin and thread the elastic through the casing in that little opening that you left in the center back. Bring it all the way around and then overlap it here, and then stitch it with an X across it and a rectangle just to secure it really good.